If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by portrait photography, or just at a loss of what to focus on to take you to that next level, then come hang with me. I help guide portrait photographers just like you to stay clear and sharp in camera and with your goals. I'm your host, photographer, educator, and weirdly positive mama of four, Emily Supio. And this is the Stay Focused podcast. Photography advice to help you stay focused. Hey everyone, and thank you so much for pressing play on this week's episode of the Stay Focused podcast. And really, I really want to say thank you, big thank you for pressing play, because I know this time of year is a busy time of year for everybody. We've got like 1,000,001 things going on. Am I right? And for you to take the time to listen to these short, sweet episodes so that you can get better at your photography goals makes me feel really happy, and it should make you feel really happy too. So again, thank you so much for taking that time to tune in and listen. And today's episode, we're going to talk a little more about photography gear, photography cameras, photography lenses, things you should have, things you shouldn't have. And the idea for this episode came about because, well, there's a lot of shopping going on during this time of year, right? If you are listening as this episode airs, we're just coming off of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and there's been lots of deals on cameras, camera bodies, camera lenses, camera accessories. And if you have someone special in your life that's asking you what's on your Christmas list, it is overwhelming trying to figure out which of these cameras and lenses to be asking for, right? So I want to kind of break that down for you today in this episode so you can start thinking of the camera gear that's most appropriate for you to ask for this holiday season. But before I share with you the actual rundown of cameras and lenses, you might be thinking, okay, yeah, I want all this stuff, but I'd like to know how to use it a little bit more. And so if that sounds like you, if you are really confused or overwhelmed by your camera, by photography in general, and you're like, I would like great gear, but I would really like to know how to use it more, then please come join me in my free 1-hour masterclass, the 4-step framework to confidently shooting gorgeous portraits. This is free to register. It only takes about an hour, and it's really going to give you that kickstart, that jump start for this holiday season and into the next year to take great pictures. So if you want to register for that, go to cozyclicks.com/framework, or you will find the direct link to click on in the description of wherever you're listening to this. So if you're listening on the cozyclicks.com blog, there is a link right there. If you're listening on iTunes, there is a direct link in the description. If you're listening on YouTube, direct link right there, and so on and so on. Got it? Okay, good. Okay, so like I said, I know this is a super duper busy time of year for everybody, and I don't want to waste your time at all. So let's just dive in and get started. And I want to start with talking about cameras, camera bodies, which one you should be asking for this holiday season. Now, if you are new to photography, like brand new, do not have a camera yet, but would love to have a camera. Maybe you want to start taking pictures of your kids. You're realizing they're growing up quick, or you've just been really interested in it and you're ready to finally invest in you. The camera that I recommend you start with is any in the Canon Rebel series. Now, I believe it's the Canon Rebel 7 or 8, which is the newest one that is out right now. However, if you're strapped for cash, if the person who is buying you Christmas presents doesn't have that big of a budget, you can always ask for an earlier model, and those are just as great too. You can even ask for a used model if you are just new and starting out to see if you like it. And that's great too. I actually started out with a borrowed camera. Those of you who have been listening for a while already know that. So there's nothing wrong with using
a used or a borrowed camera. So it's that Canon Rebel series that I recommend. And even if you have been tinkering around with photography, maybe you have that Canon Rebel and you're looking to move up a little bit, this is what I recommend doing. First, I recommend picking one camera brand and sticking with that one. So if you started with the Canon and you like it, stick with the Canon. And my reasoning behind that is because if you have already accumulated some lenses, purchased some lenses, you can't always flip-flop all of your lenses around. So if you choose to switch brands, you're also going to have to upgrade all of your lenses in your collection too. So think of that when you make your next upgrade. Think of if you like the brand you're working with, stick with that. If you want to try something new, just remember you're going to have to change up all of your lenses too. Now, if you're thinking you'd like to upgrade, but you're not really sure if you want to go full frame or mirrorless, my recommendation to you isn't one certain camera because different people like different things, right? My recommendation would be to either go to an online lens or camera rental place or a local camera shop and try out a few. Rent one for a day or for the weekend or for a week and see if you like it, see if it connects with you. And then rent a different one and see if that one, jives with you better. Before you make that investment or change brands or upgrade and spend that money, make sure it's something you're really going to like because chances are it's going to be the camera that sticks with you for several years at the very least. Okay, now let's talk about lenses because lenses are super fun, right? Like lenses really can change up the picture. So if you already have a camera or you've gotten your camera and you've got those kit lenses you've been working with, that's great, okay? The kit lenses are great to start with, but once you get really comfortable with those, when you change up your lenses, it makes things so much fun. You can get so much more creative with your camera lenses. So the first one, my first recommendation, and this if you're using a Canon or a Nikon or a Sony, start with that 50mm 1.8 lens. Some people call it the nifty 50. This is going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. So if you've got someone that's asking you what you want for the holidays and they've got a budget of about $100, this is what to ask for. You are going to see such a difference when you upgrade from your kit lenses to this lens, and it really starts taking your creativity up to that next level. So that's a great one to ask for this holiday season. Now, if you already have that one, or if you just like to kind of play around with some other lenses, or maybe your Santa Claus has a little bit bigger of a budget, the 85mm 1.8, or the Canon, I believe, has an 85mm 1.4 version, is between, say $350 to $450, somewhere in that price range. Hopefully you can get a great holiday deal. But that's a fun lens too. That's a real sharp lens and will give you a little bit longer of a focal length, which will help with those blurry backgrounds that I know a lot of you really like. Now, if you shoot indoors a lot of times, or you're looking to shoot where you have a little bit less space, so you need a little bit more wiggle room with your focal length, try out the 35mm lens. That one might be a better pick for you. Now, if your Santa Claus has lots of money in his sack of gifts that he's bringing your way, my most favorite lens is the 135mm 2.0. Now, this is the most expensive lens on this list of recommendations that I'm giving you right now. The 135mm 2.0 is usually around $1,000. Now, sometimes I've seen it on Amazon where you can snag it for maybe $8.99. Every once in a while it pops up and I get really excited and tell everybody. I haven't seen that yet lately, but I'll keep checking and I'll keep you updated. But check that out because the 135 millimeter is a longer focal lens, has been my favorite go-to lens for almost a decade now. And it never was my intention that that's the lens I always wanted to stick with and use. And I do change up my lens sometimes, but that's my go-to lens. That's the one that I truly, truly love. So if you've got some extra wiggle room to spend this holiday season, that is the one I would ask Santa for. All right, I hope that gave you all some ideas. Like I said, I know you're super busy, so thank you for even taking the time to listen today so that you can understand more about photography. And in the weeks to come, there's going to be so many opportunities to use your camera, to take pictures of your family, to capture memories. And so I love that you are listening. I love that you are learning. I love that you want your photography skills to just excel. So good for you, you photography go-getter. I really appreciate that. Now, before I sign off today, I want you to remember that every Wednesday there is a new episode of the Stay Focused podcast with more that you can learn if you are newer to portrait photography. Make sure you hit the subscribe button over on Apple iTunes or Spotify or YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast today so that you never miss an episode. And then, hey, while you are over there, if you have not left a rating and review for the Stay Focused podcast yet, it would really mean a lot to me if you would. That would be a great holiday gift for me. That helps more photographers just like you find the show. So I would be very appreciative. All right, you guys, I will be back with a new episode next Wednesday. But until then, here's to staying in focus, in camera, and with your goals. Bye, you guys.